Good evening. I feel like I'm reading the news. Anyway, welcome to our second Instagram live series talking about the Natures Alchemy products and deep diving into one every week for the next 8 weeks. So in case you don't know who I am, my name is Lynn Sheed and I am the owner and founder and creator of Natures Alchemy. So I am the person who've come up with all the products. And hi Barbara, how are you? If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments there and I'll answer them for you. So tonight we're talking about the natural deodorant. So if you've ever kind of been curious about trying a natural deodorant, or if you've ever tried natural deodorant and it hasn't worked for you, then you're in the right place. So I'm going to go through all the information that I have to tell you about natural deodorants in general, and then our deodorants and why they're a little bit different. So I have never really used a spray deodorant. I've only ever used a roll-on. I'm a real sensitive Sally, so spray deodorants never agreed with me since I was a teenager. So I've only ever used a roll-on. But again, roll-ons have their own issues. Obviously the packaging and everything is really, really difficult to recycle, the packaging from roll-ons, because you can't open them, and obviously you can't open them and clean them out and put them in recycling. So I've ever used roll-ons, and then when I discovered natural deodorant, I used natural deodorant from a tin. So that's where my kind of journey with deodorant has started. I remember being in PE class, you know, like back in when we were in school, and you know, you that haze of deodorant, like I don't know, that spray, that choking, you know, in the room when everyone's spraying their deodorant. That was one thing that really put me off. And obviously I'm always kind of worried about the environment ever since I was younger. So I've never wanted to use a spray deodorant or an aerosol because of the whole CFCs and the ozone layer and all that. So I've always used a roll-on. And then when I discovered natural deodorant, I started using that. So natural deodorants, everyone asks me, do they work? So they do work, but they work really, really differently to your regular standard antiperspirant. So if you think about an antiperspirant, what it does is basically it blocks the pores in your armpits and stops you sweating. So that's how it works, okay? Which is wonderful because you don't sweat, means you don't smell, but it also interferes with all the kind of natural process that your body is supposed to do. So you're supposed to sweat. So that helps to regulate your body temperature, especially on days like this where it's really, really warm. It's harder to regulate your body temperature if you're using an antiperspirant because you can't sweat to get rid of the excess heat. And the second thing that your sweat does is it allows you to release toxins. So your toxins are released in the sweat under your armpits. So it's not the best scenario for your body to be blocking those up and stopping those toxins being kind of removed from the body. So then natural deodorants, how they work is they're a little bit different. So what they do is that they reduce the bacteria in your armpits. That's the main kind of mode of action. So your sweat isn't actually what makes you smell. It's the bacteria in your armpits which feed on the sweat, and then they release a gas, which is BO. So your sweat isn't smelly. So the natural deodorants, they have loads of different ingredients which are all antimicrobial. So basically they all work in harmony with each other to reduce the bacteria in the armpits to then stop you from smelling. So there is a transition period, so that when you change from an antiperspirant to a natural deodorant, you have to give it a little bit of time to work, because obviously the bacteria are there and they're going to get removed each time you wash and use the deodorant. So if you just wash and use the deodorant and then expect it to work straight away, it's not going to, because the bacteria are not going to be reduced quick enough. So you have to give it about 2 weeks really for the deodorant to really take effect. And once your 2 week period is up, like I find now that I will shower and use the deodorant and I get 2 days out of it. And I've even, I like to experiment. I've even tried and I've got 5 days. So, and then my husband was like, okay, you need to go for a shower now. So that was, I showered, put on the deodorant, and then I didn't use the deodorant for another 5 days. And then it lasted that length of time. So obviously with this kind of weather, you're wearing short sleeve t-shirts, you're wearing a lot of white clothing. So the natural deodorants can stain your white t-shirts especially, and especially because your short sleeve t-shirts and vests, they're going to be sitting in your armpits and sitting in the deodorant. So what I recommend for people to do, especially in the summer, but I kind of do it all the time now, is that I would put the deodorant on going to bed. because you don't really care about the pajamas. You know, if they get stained or they get that yellowness from the coconut oil underneath the armpits, I just put it on going to bed, and then because it's so potent, it lasts me for the whole day, and then I reapply it at night time the next day. So the natural deodorant that I make, has loads of different ingredients in it. So one of the most kind of antimicrobial ingredients that I have is the coconut oil. Then it also has bicarbonate of soda, it has zinc oxide, they're all antimicrobial. But a lot of natural deodorants, what they do is they rely mostly on their bicarbonate of soda because that's the most antimicrobial of the ingredients. But bicarbonate of soda is a funny one because what it does is it changes the pH of your underarms as well as being antimicrobial. It changes the pH of your underarms, and that can cause irritation. So some people who have tried natural deodorant before, what they'll find is that they'll get a rash under their arms because the bicarbonate of soda is quite high in the deodorants that they're trying. So the one that we have has actually got less bicarbonate of soda in it, and the reason for that is because I can make the herbal infused oils, which goes into the deodorant as well. So my herbal infused oil has calendula, it has lavender, it has lemongrass and lemon balm. So those 4 herbs are all infused in the apricot kernel oil for about 6 weeks. So all the antimicrobial properties go into the oil, which then goes into the deodorant. So then that means I can use less bicarbonate of soda. So it's super, super gentle. Now, that is to say I still wouldn't shave and put the deodorant directly on because for me, I'm obviously very sensitive. So it does irritate too much for me to do that. But I just shave in the morning in my shower and then put the deodorant on at night time, and there's no issue then. So what am I talking about now? I've lost my train of thought. So these are my 2 scents that we have currently and our packaging. So you have your lemon drop and you have your herb garden. So lemon drop is a mixture of lemongrass, grapefruit and lavender essential oil. So it's kind of a nice fruity scent. It's quite feminine. It's the best seller, to be honest, of the 2 scents that I have. And then the other one is your herb garden, which is tea tree, rosemary and lavender. So it's a bit more unisex, a bit more earthy, but it's still really nice. But again, I don't like a lot of strong smells, so I just use the minimum amount of essential oils that I can in it, so that you just get a bit of a scent, but it's not overpowering. So you don't actually smell really the deodorant once you use it. Our packaging then is compostable, so the tubes are compostable. They're a 35ml tube here. The only thing is that the actual label isn't compostable yet. So I did start off using compostable labels on the tubes, but what was happening, that was fine for markets, so it didn't really matter. But when now they're in shops, what I find happens is people touch the labels, and the compostable labels are really, really easy to mark. So someone touches them, even with just a sweaty hand or a bit of whatever grease on their hand, and they get marked, so then they can't be sold in the shop. So I had to use these vinyl labels for now. So that has to be taken off before you put it into your compost bin, but it can go directly in your home compost bin. There are some tubes out there that are lined with aluminium. So what that means is that they're recyclable, not compostable, which kind of defeats the purpose really of your packaging, because they get very manky. So you can't really recycle them. There's no way of cleaning them because they're paper. So they just really have to go into the bin, and then it's very wasteful. So these have a wax, plant-based wax lining. So that means that they are fully compostable. Now, in the future, I'm hoping that we will get custom printed tubes, and that will mean that they will go completely in the compost bin. There'll be no labels needed. So these tubes are new size, so they're 35ml. We used to have a 70ml tube, and there's some of them still on the website, but not very many because they just last too long. So the 70ml tubes used to last people for 9 months. So that didn't really work for a few different reasons. The main one was that if you're storing this, probably in a bathroom, if you're going to be storing your deodorant in the bathroom, it's in quite a damp environment. So what would happen is that the tubes wouldn't stand up to the dampness. They start to decompose in the bathrooms, and then you're still left with a load of deodorant that you can't use because obviously the tube is falling apart. So that was one of the reasons. And then the second reason was that they were quite tall at this height. So these are quite easy. You can push your finger all the way to the top to get everything out of the tube, whereas the 70ml ones you'd have to get a hairbrush or a pen or something and push them up. So that's the other reason why we've changed the size, which makes them a bit more handy. They're a nicer size to have in your bag as well if you're taking them traveling. So this size should actually last you about 3 months. So you obviously have your transition period. So once you start using it, you take about 2 weeks for your body to get completely acclimatized to the natural deodorant. And then what will happen is that you can just use it every second day. And so it should last you 3 months. But like, again, you can use it every day, and they last a long time, because you don't need a whole pile of it. They can be a little bit hard to start, depending on where you're storing it. It can be a little bit hard. So like the first rub under your arm, it mightn't really do anything, but it'll start to heat up as you're rubbing it off the body, and the body temperature will heat it up and make it melt a bit easier. So that's all the questions. I have no questions about the deodorant. No one actually asked me any questions, but I think I have covered anything. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM afterwards, and I will answer them for you. This video will also go on YouTube, so you can, if you come back and you think of something that you want to check up on again, you can go and have a look on YouTube. It'll probably be also on the Instagram grid there as well. So thanks so much. The deodorants are on the website, and they're in a lot of the different Horan stores around the country, and hopefully in loads more health stores in the next few weeks. So have a lovely evening and enjoy the sun, and we'll talk to you soon.